The darkest dawn. Commander Xar'koth stood at the helm of the celestial observer, her crystalline eyes fixed on the holographic projection of Earth. The third planet from its sun had always fascinated her people, the Andromedans, but today her heart felt heavy as she watched the destruction unfold below. "Status report," she commanded, her voice echoing through the bridge of the massive starship. First Officer Xar'koth approached with a data tablet, his silver skin reflecting the emergency lights that pulsed throughout the ship. "The nuclear exchange has begun, Commander. We're detecting multiple launches from all major continents. Current projections indicate 87% of the human population will be eliminated within the first 48 hours. Xar'koth closed her eyes, remembering the Council's strict non-intervention policy. For centuries, they had watched humanity grow, struggle, and advance. Now, in 2084, they were about to witness their destruction. "What about the children?" she asked, breaking protocol by even considering the question. Xar'koth hesitated before responding. "Current scans show approximately 2.1 billion humans under the age of 18. Most are in population centers that will be primary targets." The bridge fell silent as the first mushroom clouds began appearing on the holographic display. Xar'koth's hands gripped the command rail until her knuckles turned white. She had spent the last 50 years studying human culture, their resilience, their capacity for both tremendous good and unspeakable evil. But it was their children that had captured her heart, their innocence, their potential, their unconditional love. "Commander," Lieutenant Vex 3 called from her station, "I'm detecting unusual energy signatures from the humans' quantum research facilities. They're attempting to activate their experimental dimensional gates." Xar'koth's antenna twitched with interest. The humans had been experimenting with dimensional travel, though they were still years away from success. In their desperation, they must be trying everything. She made her decision then, knowing it would likely end her career, or worse. "All hands, battle stations," she commanded. "Prepare for atmospheric entry. Initialize the quantum stasis fields and begin calculating mass teleportation coordinates." Xar'koth stepped forward, his expression concerned. "Commander, the Council's directives." "To hell with the Council," Xar'koth snapped, surprising even herself with the human expression she'd picked up. "I will not stand by and watch 2.1 billion children die when we have the power to save them." She turned to her crew, seeing the mixture of fear and determination in their eyes. "What we're about to do will change both our civilizations forever. If anyone wishes to leave their post, do so now. No repercussions." Not a single crew member moved. Lieutenant Vex 3, begin broadcasting on all frequencies in every human language. Priority to areas with highest concentrations of children. Message follows: "We come in peace. We are here to save your children. Please gather them in open areas. You have 1 hour." The next 60 minutes were chaos. As nuclear missiles crisscrossed the globe, the celestial observer deployed its fleet of shuttlecraft. Teams of Andromedans, protected by energy shields, descended into cities worldwide. They found humans in varying states of panic and resignation. In New York, a teacher had gathered her entire elementary school in Central Park. In Mumbai, parents were bringing children to the largest cricket stadium. In Lagos, churches and mosques were filled with families saying their goodbyes. The Andromedans worked with mechanical precision, using their advanced technology to teleport children directly to the massive stasis chambers aboard the Celestial Observer and its support ships. Some parents fought, unable to bear the separation. Others practically threw their children at the aliens, desperate to give them any chance at survival. Xar'koth coordinated everything from the bridge, watching as the numbers of rescued children climbed. 100,000, 500,000. 1 million. But it wasn't enough. The missiles were starting to hit their targets. "Commander," Xar'koth called out, "the first detonations are creating electromagnetic pulses. Our shields are holding, but they're interfering with the teleportation systems." Xar'koth slammed her fist on the command console. Reroute power from weapons systems. We need every ounce of energy for the teleporters and stasis chambers. As cities began disappearing in atomic fire, the Andromedans worked faster. They had managed to save over 100 million children when the quantum readings from Earth's research facilities spiked dramatically. Commander. Vex 3 shouted, "They've done it. The humans have activated their dimensional gates, but they're unstable. They're creating tears in space-time." Xar'koth watched in horror as reality itself began to fracture around Earth. The desperate attempt at dimensional travel was about to tear the planet apart at a quantum level, a fate perhaps worse than nuclear war. "All ships, emergency retreat. Get us out of the gravity well," she ordered. The celestial observer shuddered as it fought against the growing gravitational distortions. As they pulled away from Earth, Xar'koth could only watch as the planet seemed to fold in on itself, disappearing into a dimensional rift of humanity's own making. In the end, they had managed to save 157 million children, a fraction of what she had hoped, but far more than none. The bridge was silent as Earth vanished completely, leaving only empty space where the blue planet had once been. Xar'koth felt tears on her cheeks, another human trait she'd picked up during her years of observation. "Send word to the Council," she said quietly. Tell them Earth is gone, and we now have 157 million refugees aboard our ships. And tell them I take full responsibility for breaking the non-intervention directive." She turned to face her crew, seeing the same mix of grief and resolve in their faces. "Now we have to figure out how to care for all these children. And somehow explain to them that Christmas this year will be very different." As if to punctuate her words, the ship's sensors detected a small object floating in space, a satellite that had somehow survived. As it tumbled past their view screen, they could make out the words painted on its side, "Peace on Earth, goodwill to all." Xar'koth straightened her shoulders. They had saved who they could. Now came the hard part, helping these children build a new future among the stars. New horizons. The medical bay of the Celestial Observer was never meant to handle this many patients. Dr. Miravi, the ship's chief medical officer, moved swiftly between the rows of stasis pods where human children floated in suspended animation. Her team had been working non-stop for 3 days, processing and evaluating each child's condition. "Another case of radiation exposure," she called out, her fingers dancing across the medical scanner. "Pod 47,392 needs immediate cellular regeneration." In the corner, 8-year-old Sarah Chen watched with wide eyes. She was among the first children to be revived, chosen because of her exceptional ability to remain calm during the evacuation. Now she helped the medical team by talking to other children as they were awakened, a familiar human face in an alien environment. "Dr. Mira?" Sarah asked, hugging her knees to her chest. "When will my little brother wake up?" The Andromedan doctor paused, her luminescent eyes softening. "Soon, little one. We're making sure everyone is healthy before we wake them." She didn't mention that Sarah's brother had suffered severe radiation exposure and was undergoing intensive treatment. Meanwhile, in the ship's central command chamber, Commander Xar'koth faced a different kind of crisis. The holographic projections of the Andromedan High Council towered before her, their expressions stern. "Commander," High Counselor Xaira, one spoke, her voice echoing with authority, "your actions have violated our most sacred directive. The consequences of this breach cannot be overstated." "With respect, Counselor," Xar'koth stood her ground, "I accept full responsibility for my actions. But these children need our help now. We can discuss my punishment later." Another council member, the ancient Kronx 9, leaned forward. "The issue is not just your insubordination, Commander. You have brought 157 million human children into our space. The resource requirements alone are staggering. And what of their development? Their education? Their integration into society?" "I have a plan," Xar'koth replied, activating a holographic display of her own. The Centauri colonies have vast uninhabited territories. With the Council's permission, we can establish settlements there. Create schools that blend human and Andromedan knowledge. Give them a chance to build a new life. The council chambers erupted in debate. As they argued, Xar'koth received an urgent message from Kex 7, Commander, we have a situation in Cargo Bay 12. The human children, they're asking about something called Christmas. In Cargo Bay 12, chaos reigned. Thousands of awakened children had gathered, their voices rising in a mixture of languages. At the center stood Tommy Williams, a 10-year-old from Chicago, who had somehow become their unofficial spokesperson. But it's December 24th, he insisted to a bewildered Andromedan security officer. Christmas is tomorrow. We need a tree, and presents, and... His voice cracked, and our families. The security officer, Tel 8, looked helplessly at his commander as she entered the cargo bay. Xar'koth had studied human customs extensively, but she had never expected to have to recreate them. Tell me about Christmas, she said, kneeling beside Tommy. Help me understand. As the boy explained, other children joined in, each adding their own family's traditions to the story. Xar'koth listened, an idea forming in her mind, one that might help these children cope with their unimaginable loss. Back in the medical bay, Dr. Miravi made a breakthrough. Commander, she reported excitedly, we've successfully adapted our regeneration technology for human physiology. We can begin mass revival within days. But with the good news came complications. The ship's food synthesizers struggled to recreate human-compatible nutrients. The environmental systems strained to maintain Earth-normal conditions in the occupied sections. And the children themselves grappled with trauma, loss, and the strange new reality of life among the stars. Lieutenant Vex 3 approached Xar'koth with another concern. Commander, we're detecting unusual brainwave patterns among the children. It seems their quantum signatures have been altered by their exposure to the dimensional rifts during Earth's destruction. Altered how? Xar'koth demanded. They're developing abilities, Commander. Telepathic connections, precognitive glimpses, manipulation of quantum fields. The younger ones especially, their minds are more adaptable. This news complicated everything. If humans were evolving due to their exposure to dimensional energies, the Council would demand even stricter controls. But Xar'koth saw an opportunity. These children might represent a new chapter in human evolution, a bridge between their species. In her private quarters that night, Xar'koth recorded a message to the Council, Honorable members, I request an emergency session. What we have witnessed is not just the salvation of human children, but potentially the birth of a new species. These children represent the best of humanity combined with quantum-enhanced capabilities. They need our guidance now more than ever. As she finished recording, her door chimed. Sarah Chen stood there, holding a crudely drawn picture. Commander. Tommy said you want to learn about Christmas. I drew this for you, it's what my family's tree looked like. Xar'koth studied the drawing, noting the careful detail of ornaments and lights. Thank you, Sarah. Would you like to help me with something? I think it's time we showed the galaxy that sometimes breaking rules is necessary to do what's right. The commander turned to her computer and began drafting orders. If these children needed Christmas, then, by all the stars in the galaxy, she would give them Christmas. Even if it meant requisitioning every available fabricator in the fleet to create gifts, converting hydroponic bays to grow earth plants, and teaching her crew to sing carols. Because somewhere between saving these children and trying to give them a future, Xar'koth had learned the most important human lesson of all, sometimes love means breaking all the rules. As she worked through the night, emergency signals began coming in from the edge of known space. Something was happening out there, something that would change everything. The dimensional rift that had swallowed Earth wasn't closing. It was growing, and it was pulling other worlds into its grasp. The children of Earth might be safe, but their greatest challenges, and adventures, were just beginning. Quantum Dreams. The Centauri Training Academy sprawled across the terraformed valleys of Alpha Centauri's third planet. 6 months had passed since the rescue, and the facility had become home to thousands of Earth's children. In one of its quantum laboratories, 13-year-old Maya Patel stood before a hovering sphere of pure energy, her hands trembling as she attempted to control it. "Focus, Maya," Professor Kex 7 instructed. The former first officer had taken on a new role teaching the children to harness their emerging abilities. "Feel the quantum field. Remember, you're not just moving energy, you're dancing with the fabric of reality itself." Maya closed her eyes, remembering the day Earth disappeared. The sensation of reality bending had been burned into her consciousness. Now, she could tap into that same feeling at will. The energy sphere pulsed, then split into a dozen smaller orbs that danced around the room in perfect harmony. "Excellent." Kex 7 beamed with pride. "Your control is improving exponentially." But Maya wasn't finished. With a look of intense concentration, she began weaving the energy spheres into complex patterns. As they moved, they left trails of light that formed familiar shapes: Christmas trees, stars, angels. The other children in the class watched in awe. "I call it quantum art," Maya explained, letting the display fade. "It helps me remember Earth without feeling so sad." Meanwhile, in the station's Strategic Command Center, Commander Xar'koth studied the latest reports with growing concern. The dimensional rift that had consumed Earth was expanding, creating a network of quantum fissures throughout the galaxy. Already, 3 uninhabited systems had been lost to the void. The Council was right about one thing, she muttered to Dr. Mira V, who stood beside her. "Everything has changed." "But not necessarily for the worse," the doctor countered, displaying her latest research findings. "The children's quantum abilities are evolving faster than we anticipated. They're not just controlling energy, they're developing a symbiotic relationship with spacetime itself." Their discussion was interrupted by an urgent alert. In the residential sector, 6-year-old twins James and Jessica Cooper had accidentally created a miniature dimensional pocket while playing hide-and-seek. Security footage showed them literally disappearing into thin air, only to emerge minutes later with stories of visiting another place. "That's the third incident this week," Xar'koth noted. "We need to accelerate their training." But training wasn't the only challenge. The Academy's cultural integration program struggled to balance preserving Earth's heritage with preparing the children for life in an interstellar society. In the main dining hall, food synthesizers now produced both traditional Earth meals and Andromedan cuisine. The library contained both species' histories, and the children were learning to write in both English and the crystalline script of their adoptive civilization. Sarah Chen, now working as a peer counselor, helped younger children cope with their dual identity. "We're not just Earth survivors," she would tell them. "We're its legacy. And now we have 2 families, the ones we lost, and the ones who saved us." The Andromedan High Council, however, remained divided on the children's future. Some members saw their quantum abilities as a potential threat. Others recognized an opportunity for unprecedented advancement. The debate reached a critical point when long-range sensors detected something impossible, a quantum signature matching Earth's frequency. In her private laboratory, Lieutenant Vex 3 analyzed the data obsessively. "Commander," she reported, her voice tight with excitement, "I don't think Earth was destroyed. The dimensional rift didn't erase it, it relocated it. And these quantum fissures, they're like breadcrumbs leading to its new location." The implications were staggering. If Earth still existed in another dimensional plane, there might be more survivors. But reaching it would mean navigating the dangerous quantum fissures that were spreading across the galaxy. That's when Tommy Williams, now training in quantum mechanics, made a suggestion that would change everything. "We don't need ships," he said during an emergency briefing. "We need quantum anchors, people who can hold open the dimensional gates long enough for rescue ships to pass through." And who better to serve as anchors than children who are literally connected to Earth's quantum signature? The room fell silent as his words sank in. The children's abilities weren't random mutations, they were an evolutionary response to their homeworld's dimensional shift. They were living bridges between realities. Commander Xar'koth faced a difficult decision. The mission would be dangerous, but the potential reward was beyond imagination. She thought of her own career, already in jeopardy from her first act of defiance. Then she thought of all the parents who had trusted their children to her care, hoping against hope that they might somehow survive. Begin preparation for Operation Homebridge, she ordered. But participation must be voluntary. I won't risk any child who isn't ready. The response from the children was overwhelming. Within hours, thousands had volunteered to help. Maya offered to use her quantum art to map the fissures. The Cooper twins' ability to create dimensional pockets could be key to understanding the larger rifts. Even Sarah, despite having no quantum abilities herself, volunteered to help counsel those participating in the mission. As the Academy transformed into a mission control center, Dr. Miravi made another breakthrough. The children's quantum abilities seemed to grow stronger when they worked together, especially among those who shared strong emotional bonds. The implications were clear, they would need to approach this not just as individuals, but as a family. Maybe that's what Christmas is really about, Sarah mused one evening, watching Maya create quantum light displays for the younger children. Not just the gifts or the trees, but being together. Finding family even in the strangest places. Xar'koth smiled, remembering her promise to give these children a proper Christmas. Now, as they prepared for their greatest challenge yet, she realized they had given her something far more precious, hope. But time was running out. The quantum fissures were growing more unstable, and the potential window for reaching Earth was narrowing. As the children trained and the mission plans developed, a new question arose: if they found Earth, would it still be the same world they left behind? And more importantly, were they still the same children who had left it? Bridge between worlds. The massive holographic chamber aboard the Celestial Observer had been transformed into a quantum training arena. 16 children, selected for their exceptional abilities, stood in a circle, their hands linked. In the center, Maya Patel conducted their energy like a symphony, her quantum art weaving their powers into a cohesive force. Remember, Professor Kex 7 called out from the observation deck, each of you represents a different frequency of Earth's quantum signature. Together, you form the bridge. Tommy Williams, positioned at the north point of the circle, felt the familiar tingle of dimensional energy coursing through him. At 14, he had grown into one of the strongest quantum manipulators at the Academy. But what they were attempting now went beyond individual power, it required perfect synchronization. Commander Xar'koth watched the training session with Dr. Miravi and Lieutenant Vex 3. The children's progress was remarkable, but time was running out. The latest scans showed the quantum fissures were beginning to intersect, creating dangerous dimensional turbulence. "They're ready," Dr. Miravi declared, reviewing the bioreadings. "Their neural synchronization is at 94%, better than we ever hoped for. But is it enough?" Xar'koth wondered aloud. The mission would require them to create and maintain a stable dimensional corridor large enough for rescue ships to pass through. One mistake could scatter them across multiple realities. In another part of the ship, Sarah Chen worked with the Cooper twins, who had developed an uncanny ability to predict dimensional fluctuations. Their playroom walls were covered with drawings, not of toys or animals, but of quantum wave patterns and dimensional coordinates. There, Jessica Cooper pointed to a particular drawing. "That's where the song is strongest." Her brother James nodded in agreement. "The quantum resonance. It sounds like Earth's heartbeat." Sarah had learned to take their cryptic statements seriously. The twins' connection to the quantum realm went beyond mere manipulation, they seemed to experience it as a kind of music, a symphony of reality itself. Meanwhile, the Andromedan High Council had finally reached a decision. Given the growing threat of the quantum fissures, they would officially sanction Operation Homebridge. But they added one condition: if Earth was found to be irretrievable, the mission would be immediately terminated. The news spread quickly through the Academy. That evening, in the ship's newly created Earth Heritage Center, hundreds of children gathered for what might be their last preparation session. The center had been designed to help them maintain their connection to their homeworld, filled with recreated Earth artifacts and environments. Maya stood before them, using her quantum art to create a three-dimensional map of the known fissures. The dimensional currents are like rivers, she explained. We need to find the right confluence, the point where all the streams meet. But how will we know it's really Earth? A young voice asked from the crowd. What if we find the wrong dimension? It was Tommy who answered, stepping forward with conviction. Because we carry Earth with us, in our memories, in our hearts, and now in our quantum signature. We're not just looking for a planet, we're looking for home. The preparation for Operation Homebridge transformed the entire fleet. Ships were modified with quantum stabilizers designed by the children themselves. The Cooper twins' dimensional pockets were studied and replicated on a larger scale. Even the Andromedan crew members underwent special training to handle the strange physics they would encounter. But perhaps the most remarkable preparation happened in the hearts and minds of the children themselves. They began sharing their memories of Earth, creating a collective quantum resonance that grew stronger with each passing day. Sarah organized what she called memory circles, where children would gather to remember their homes, their families, and their traditions. Christmas was about giving, she reminded them during one such circle. Now we have a chance to give something back, hope for those we left behind. As the launch date approached, Commander Xar'koth made a surprising discovery in the ship's quantum archives. The dimensional technology that had caused Earth's disappearance hadn't been entirely of human origin. Traces of Andromedan quantum science had been found in the original designs, remnants of an ancient exploration mission long forgotten by her people. We bear some responsibility for this, she told her senior staff. Which means we have an obligation to help fix it. The night before the mission, Maya couldn't sleep. She stood in the observation dome, creating delicate quantum light sculptures of Earth cities she remembered. Tommy found her there, watching her work in silent appreciation. Are you afraid? She asked without turning around. Yes, he admitted. But not of failing. I'm afraid of succeeding, of finding Earth and discovering everything's changed. What if we don't belong there anymore? Maya's light sculpture shifted, showing both Earth and the Centauri Academy merged into one impossible landscape. Maybe that's the point, she said softly. Maybe we're supposed to be the bridge between both worlds, not just choose one or the other. As they talked, the Cooper twins burst into the dome, their eyes wide with excitement. We heard it, they exclaimed in unison. The heartbeat, it's getting stronger. Emergency alerts began blaring throughout the ship. Long-range sensors were detecting massive quantum fluctuations. The fissures were aligning in a pattern that matched the twins' predictions perfectly. Their window of opportunity had arrived 12 hours ahead of schedule. Operation Homebridge would have to launch immediately, ready or not. As the crew scrambled to their stations and the chosen children took their positions, Commander Xar'koth made one final ship-wide announcement. Whatever we find on the other side of this bridge, remember that you've already accomplished the impossible. You've proven that family isn't about where you're from, but who you choose to stand beside. The quantum arena hummed with energy as Maya took her position in the center of the circle. The 16 children joined hands, their minds synchronizing, their quantum signatures harmonizing into a single powerful frequency. They were about to attempt the greatest rescue mission in history, not just of a lost planet, but of hope itself. The light of home. Reality itself seemed to bend as 16 children, joined in a perfect circle, channeled their quantum powers into a single focused beam. Maya Patel stood at the center, her quantum art now more than just beautiful patterns, it was the key to mapping their path through the dimensional void. Quantum resonance at maximum. Lieutenant Vex 3 called from her station. Dimensional corridor forming. The space before the celestial observer began to twist and fold, creating a tunnel of swirling energy that pulsed with Earth's distinctive quantum signature. The Cooper twins, stationed at critical junction points around the ship, called out navigational corrections in their mysterious quantum language. Port side, frequency shift of 0.3. James shouted. Starboard harmonics need alignment. Jessica added immediately after. Commander Xar'koth gripped her command rail as the ship entered the corridor. The view through the main screen showed impossible colors and geometric patterns that shouldn't exist in normal space. Warning alerts blared as the ship's hull creaked under the dimensional stress. All hands, brace for quantum turbulence, she ordered. Medical team standing by for the children. In the quantum arena, sweat beaded on Maya's forehead as she maintained the delicate balance of energies. Tommy Williams, at his position in the circle, felt his consciousness expanding, touching minds with the other children in ways that transcended normal telepathy. Together, they weren't just creating a path, they were becoming the path. Commander, Dr. Miravi reported urgently, the children's quantum signatures are reaching critical levels. We can't maintain this corridor for more than 20 minutes. But something unexpected was happening. Throughout the ship, the other children, those not directly involved in creating the corridor, began to glow with quantum energy. Sarah Chen, watching from the medical bay, felt at first, a surge of power, of memory, of home. They're helping, she exclaimed. All of them, every child on every ship, they're adding their energy to the bridge. The quantum corridor stabilized, strengthened by the collective will of 157 million children, each contributing their own fragment of Earth's quantum signature. The celestial observer surged forward, leading a fleet of rescue ships through the dimensional breach. Suddenly, the Cooper twins screamed in unison, "Stop!" The fleet halted on Maya's command, hovering in a section of the corridor where reality seemed particularly thin. Through the quantum distortions, they could see something forming, a familiar blue sphere. Earth, Tommy whispered, tears streaming down his face. But, it's different. The planet before them was Earth, but not quite the Earth they had left. The continents were recognizable, but new islands had formed. The atmosphere swirled with strange patterns, and the entire planet seemed to flicker between different quantum states. Multiple temporal signatures detected, Vex 3 reported. The dimensional shift has affected Earth's relationship with time itself. We're seeing multiple versions of Earth, all existing simultaneously. Commander Xar'koth faced a crucial decision. The quantum corridor was stable but temporary. They had perhaps 10 minutes to act before the children's strength gave out. Launch the quantum beacons, she ordered. Full scan for human life signs. The results came back within seconds. Earth was alive. Millions of humans had survived the dimensional shift, adapted to living in a state of quantum flux. But they were trapped, unable to fully exist in any single reality. That's when Maya had her final insight. We don't need to bring Earth back, she said, her voice carrying a wisdom beyond her years. We need to build a bridge between where it is and where we are. A permanent bridge. Understanding dawned on Commander Xar'koth's face. The children's quantum abilities weren't just a tool for rescue, they were the key to a new kind of existence. A way for humanity to live between dimensions, to thrive in the quantum spaces that most species couldn't even perceive. All ships, prepare for Phase 2, she announced. We're not just creating a corridor, we're creating a new home. The next 10 minutes would be remembered in both human and Andromedan history as the Quantum Symphony. Maya conducted the energy of millions of children, weaving their power into a permanent quantum matrix around Earth. The Cooper twins stabilized the temporal fluctuations, while Tommy and his circle anchored the matrix to normal space. When it was done, Earth existed in a quantum bubble of its own making, a space where multiple realities could coexist peacefully. The survivors on the surface looked up to see their children returning not as refugees, but as saviors, bringing with them the knowledge and technology to thrive in their new state of existence. The Andromedan High Council, watching from afar, finally understood. The human children they had saved had, in turn, saved them all. The quantum fissures that had threatened the galaxy were being stabilized by Earth's new quantum matrix, transformed from a danger into a network of dimensional bridges. 1 month later, on December 24, Commander Xar'koth stood in the Great Hall of the newly established Earth-Centauri Alliance. Around her, human families reunited with their children, their joy transcending the strangeness of their new quantum existence. Andromedan scientists worked alongside human quantum physicists, learning to navigate and understand their expanded reality. Sarah Chen, now serving as a junior ambassador between the two civilizations, approached the commander with a small package. "We still need to teach them about Christmas," she said with a smile. Xar'koth looked around at the hall, where quantum light sculptures danced alongside traditional Christmas decorations, where carols were sung in harmonies that spanned dimensions, and where two species had learned that family could cross any boundary, even the boundaries of reality itself. "I think," she replied, watching Maya create a quantum Christmas tree that existed in all possible realities simultaneously, "they're starting to understand." And somewhere in the quantum spaces between dimensions, in the bridges built by children who refused to give up on home, a new kind of peace on Earth was born, one that promised to last for all timelines to come. The end.